Las Vegas once promised more than glitter and lights, like it was pitched as a place where hard work met opportunity, where locals could build real lives, not just cater to tourists. But now, in 2025, that promise is fraying. The people who live here see it first. Empty streets, closed storefronts, services pulled back. The city is bending, and it's not just for visitors. Every block whispers of something slipping away. Kids leaving school, small businesses shuttering, families wondering what comes next. This isn't about casinos or strip shows, it's about the backbone, the locals. In this countdown, we'll expose the 10 truths pushing Las Vegas residents to the brink, and what they reveal might change how you see not just this city, but the future of every place built on promise. 10. Skyrocketing. Rent and housing. Instability. Las Vegas has long touted itself as affordable compared to coastal cities, but for many locals, that story is unraveling. In neighborhoods across the valley, rents have increased by 30 to 50% between 2020 and 2024. That kind of spike isn't just market shift. It's a structural squeeze pushing longtime residents out. What makes this worse is how landlords are tightening the rules. Higher security deposits, multiple months of advance rent, and stricter credit checks are now prerequisites. If your credit is thin or your income bounces month to month, you quickly get priced out even if you've lived in the same apartment for years. Many locals are being pushed out of inner suburbs they once called home. Areas like Paradise, parts of North Las Vegas, or Spring Valley are already seeing exodus to further outskirts. Commutes now stretch 45 to 60 minutes just to get to a shift on the Strip or downtown. That traffic eats time and money. Meanwhile, eviction filings are rising, especially in older buildings, mobile home parks, and older apartment complexes that can't afford upgrades. In those places, notice warnings have become more common. Some tenants say landlords are using alternate legal levers, code violations, lease, technicalities, to force moves. One local renter, after 15 years in a modest 2-bedroom, told me, "They said next year my rent would jump $400. I can't do that. I'll either have to move or leave the area entirely." Another statistic paints the tension. Over 58% of renters in the Las Vegas metro area now spend more than 30% of their income just on rent. That is the classic definition of being cost-burdened. When more than half your paycheck vanishes into housing, everything else becomes sacrifice. This is more than displacement. It's destabilization. A person uprooted from their neighborhood loses school continuity, community roots, even trust in permanence. If rent is rising this fast and reputations for affordability fade, what's left for the working local who doesn't have a safety net or multiple incomes? This pressure is the first layer in why locals are saying enough. And this is just the beginning. The next truth cuts deeper into daily survival. 9. Utility and infrastructure. Shock. In the desert, survival depends on power and water. But for many locals in Las Vegas, staying cool or just running the fan has become a luxury. In summer, air conditioning use surges, and many households now see power bills double or even triple compared to cooler months. To make matters worse, NV Energy is introducing a new billing structure starting in 2026, a daily demand charge based on your highest 15-minute usage window. That means a brief spike running AC, dryer, and other appliances simultaneously could surge your bill far more than before. Solar panel users are also alarmed. This demand fee might negate their savings. Water is another battleground. Drought restrictions, rising water rates, and supply limits are increasingly impacting neighborhoods. Many outer zones see tiered pricing or surcharges. For households already stretched, the water line can feel like a new tax. Then there's aging infrastructure, leaky pipes, potholes, broken streetlights, delayed repairs. These are daily reminders that the system is bending. In neighborhoods farther from the city center, municipal budgets for maintenance are already stretched thin. As budgets tighten, public services get cut, street lighting is dimmed, trash collection becomes less frequent, parks go unkempt, sidewalk repairs stall. The fuzzy line between urban and neglected zones is growing sharper. One longtime resident told me, "My power bill for July was $390. That's not a mistake. That's survival." Another utility consumer spoke at a PUCN hearing asking, "Why can a monopoly dictate how I live in my home?" Even worse, calls for accountability are mounting. A proposed state law now aims to require full refunds when utilities overcharge customers because residents say they've been forced to overpay for years. This isn't a glitch. It is erosion of the most basic services. When your lights flicker, your water bill spikes, and the streets around you crumble. That's a city pulling its definition of livable back. When basic services falter, the cracks don't just stop at your doorstep, they seep into how people live, work, and hold their lives together. 8. Job market locked to tourism. Economy. In Vegas, many job ads are for roles that serve tourists. Front desk, housekeeping, casino staff, retail clerks, servers. That dynamic places locals in a cycle of dependency. If tourism thrives, you get work. When it stumbles, you're first in line for cuts. That coupling is harsh. When visitor numbers drop, locals frequently lose shifts before contractors or management get touched. Many residents lack cross-industry credentials. Like a server or bellhop may not have transferable skills to tech or logistics. That makes pivoting almost impossible. Meanwhile, wages have been stuck in neutral. During boom years, pay raises rarely matched inflation or rising rent. Now, with cost of living outpacing gains, many locals find that their good job is becoming untenable. One recent analysis showed that average hospitality wages in the Las Vegas metro rose just 3% in the last 2 years, while rent and utilities jumped 20%. Seasonal layoffs and cutbacks are no longer anomalies. They are predictable. Every summer, winter, or off-peak convention cycle brings temporary furloughs or reduced hours. Locals can't reliably budget or plan. For workers with children, college debt, or car payments, that volatility is frightening. One hospitality worker put it plainly, "I know by September I'll see cuts. They tell us to expect fluctuations." But fluctuations are your mortgage, your groceries, your car. Another former casino staff member told me they scheduled a second, lower-pay job just to buffer their income when shifts vanish. What compounds? This is the illusion of mobility. Some locals think, maybe I can move to adjacent sectors, but those sectors, tech, finance, high-level logistics, often require credentials, training, or connections locals don't have. When your entire local economy is built around entertainment and hospitality, the safety net below is thin. In effect, many locals are trapped in a treadmill, work the tourism wheel while hoping it keeps turning. When it slows, you're forced off mid-stride. That is the harsh reality. When your city's economy hinges on visitors, your security is never your own. That same instability doesn't stay confined to paychecks. It starts to shape the futures of the next generation, one classroom at a time. 7. School quality decline and overcrowding. For many local families, public schools were once seen as a reason to stay. But today, Clark County schools lag nationally, and locals are feeling the effects. In rankings among large metro districts, Clark County often appears in the bottom quartile for performance, funding per student, and retention of quality teachers. Overcrowding is a daily struggle. Classrooms once sized for 25 students now squeeze 30, 35, or more. Schools stretch resources across multiple campuses. Teachers, overworked and underpaid, leave for districts in other states or private schools. Many locals express frustration. My child spends more time in the hall than in class because teachers can't keep up. Underfunding amplifies this. As property values flatten or decline in many neighborhoods, the tax base that funds schools weakens. Programs like arts, music, STEM labs, and after-school support are cut first. Budget shortfalls force schools to reduce counselors, aides, and extra tutoring programs. Some parents aren't waiting. They are exploring red zones, neighborhoods with better schools, even if rent is higher or commute longer. Others consider private schools or moving entirely outside of Clark County. One mother told me, "We already feel like we're second class because we live east of town. Now our kids are getting second-class education." Adding to the strain is a rising achievement gap. Students from lower-income homes, or those with less access to tutoring or stable homes, fall further behind. When schools lack support, staff, or resources, those gaps widen faster. Local parents often cite school quality as a tipping point. It's not just a reason to complain, it becomes a reason to pack up. After all, if a city cannot educate its youth to compete, what future does it offer them? And when the distance between school and work keeps growing, even the basics of daily life begin to strain. 6. Transportation woes and commute burnout. In a city built for brightness and movement, many locals now feel chained to wheels. There is no comprehensive rapid rail service. Public transit options are sparse and inefficient. Most residents must depend on cars, even for long commutes into the heart of Las Vegas or cross-valley trips. That dependency eats time, gas, and peace of mind. Worse still, traffic is steadily worsening. A recent study ranked Las Vegas as the 22nd most congested city in the U.S., with drivers spending up to 41 hours annually stuck in gridlock. Once what felt like a normal commute has stretched into slog hours. Arterial routes connecting suburbs to the Strip or downtown now routinely back up, especially during peak times. Rideshare and taxi services, once thought of as potential alternatives, often bypass neighborhoods far from tourist hotspots. Drivers choose routes that maximize payoff. Locals in less trafficked zones are left waiting or paying surcharges just to get transit that urban cores take for granted, compounding the problem: infrastructure decay. Cracked roads, potholes, limited sidewalks, unsafe crossings, and half-finished construction make daily travel a risk and a chore. In many growing suburbs, road repair budgets lag behind growth, so residents feel like they live on forgotten lanes. One commuter told me, "I leave an hour earlier now just to dodge repeat backups near Spaghetti Bowl. The extra 30 minutes cost me gas and sanity." Another said, "My child's school is 20 miles away. Some days I worry I won't make it for pickup." The twist is ironic. While Las Vegas often ranks as having relatively easy commutes compared to mega cities, with an average citywide travel time of 25.6 minutes, those statistics mask extremes. They hide the households forced to drive long distances or endure broken local arteries. For many locals, the vehicular trap is a daily ordeal, not a convenience. Energy drains before the day even starts. And when your car is your lifeline to work, school, and essentials, breakdowns or delays are more than inconveniences. They become threats to your stability. But traffic isn't the only thing locals are navigating. So in some neighborhoods, it's what happens after dark that really tests your sense of safety. 5. Crime, safety, and perceived insecurity. Walking home from work, dropping kids at school, stepping into your neighborhood, many locals now do so with a sharp edge of vigilance. While major tourist corridors receive heavy policing and surveillance, many residential zones see less visible deterrence. That creates a troubling divide: safe for visitors, riskier for residents. In those local neighborhoods, petty crime is rising. Vehicle break-ins, vandalism, package theft, and property crime regularly slip into daily life. Las Vegas ranks in the 35th percentile for safety, meaning 65% of U.S. cities are statistically safer. Locals cite lost mail, broken windows, stolen tools, or jewelry as common occurrences. When emergencies happen, response times stretch. Some locals report calls going unanswered or police arriving after the damage is done. Frustration brews when neighborhoods feel ignored. Safety issues spill over into public spaces, schools, playgrounds, recreation centers, and evening areas. Parents hesitate to let children walk or bike. Community cleanups and late classes shrink. Social fabric frays. The contrast between tourist safe and local vulnerable. It whispers to residents that they're valued only when they spend money, not when they live there. That unspoken message erodes trust in public institutions. One longtime resident put it bluntly, "They locked down the strip. I live 2 miles away and my streetlights never fixed. My car's been broken into 3 times." Another recalled her daughter's phone stolen near campus, and police said they had low priority for the case. Crime stats show nuance. Though homicide in Las Vegas dropped roughly 12% year over year in 2023, total offenses including theft and narcotics rose. Violent crime is a headline grabber, but locals more often live through the day-to-day thefts, break-ins, and violations of safety. When your sense of safety erodes in your own neighborhood, your home stops feeling like shelter and starts feeling like risk. You stop going out after dark, you rethink your kids' routines, you start to feel like a stranger in the place you once trusted, and for some, that's when the quiet search begins, not just for new housing, but for a new life entirely. 4. Disappearing local businesses and cultural erosion. Once, every neighborhood in Las Vegas had something you couldn't replicate on the Strip. A corner diner where the waitresses knew your name, an independent bookstore, a mom and pop laundry, a community theater with local plays. Those anchors are vanishing. Rising rents and tourist retail dominance push out small businesses that once served locals. Developers are no longer building local convenience or neighborhood essentials. Instead, new construction caters almost exclusively to visitors. Souvenir shops, ultra-luxe dining, themed boutiques, hotels. When you walk down what used to be a main street, you see more place. Cards for tourists, then for residents. The local hardware store, the community cafe, many don't survive the competition or the rent hikes. Cultural institutions are squeezed too. Festivals, live music venues, farmers markets, artisan fairs, many are relocated to tourist zones or shut down entirely. The celebrations that once defined a community lose their home. The arts programs in local community centers shrink, funding dries, and performance spaces vanish. Neighborhoods change in small but visible ways. Murals are painted over, local signage disappears, facades turn sleek and generic. The businesses you recognize, ones with nostalgia, with roots, disappear. In their place, temporary storefronts, Instagrammable pop-ups, facades built for visitors. In morning light, you'll see it. The corner that used to host a local breakfast diner now hosts a themed souvenir shop. The crafts fair that once drew neighbors on Saturdays is relocated into a resort zone. Even community arts councils say funding is drying up. Donors pull back when the surrounding block feels like it might not last. For families who walked those streets for decades, the change is disorienting. The backdrop of daily life has been repainted without them. One longtime resident said, "My block was full of family shops. Now half are closed, replaced by gift shops or experience stores. I don't even recognize my own street." Another recalled going to buy school supplies locally, but now must drive miles to find non-tourist chain retail. Cultural erosion is slow, cumulative. It happens in nights without neighborhood concerts, in the loss of a closing bookshop, in artists packing up because rent is too high. Over time, identity fades. A city that once felt like ours begins to feel like a show. When your local streets no longer speak your language, when the businesses that defined your life disappear, the sense of home recedes. And for many residents, that loss is more painful than losing a job. As local commerce fades, so too does the foundation of community. And just when you expect support, even the systems meant to help begin showing cracks of their own. 3. Healthcare and services gap. Healthcare should be a safety net, but for many locals in the suburbs and outskirts of Las Vegas, it's fraying fast. Local clinics, community mental health providers, behavioral health centers are stretched to breaking or shutting down. In many zones, the nearest quality clinic is miles away, often across town or in tourist areas. Insurance costs are steep. For locals who are self-employed or working part-time, premiums, co-pays, and deductibles balloon. Some residents report skipping appointments because paying for insurance or medication would force them to sacrifice basic needs. Specialty care is especially sparse. Want pediatric specialists, physical rehab, dental surgery, or mental health counseling? You often have to travel deep into the city. That's an added cost: gas, time, parking, even missing work. Many families without reliable transport find those services effectively out of reach. It's not just medical care. Social services, senior care, counseling, addiction support, these infrastructures are crumbling, clinics close their doors or reduce hours. Behavioral health centers turn people away or place them on long waiting lists. In one clinic, staff reduced operating hours from 6 days a week to 3. Another provider reports a 40% increase in patient wait lists for mental health access. Years ago, locals could walk in for a basic checkup. Now they may need appointments weeks out or travel across town. For many patients, transportation, childcare, or lost wages make those hours unreachable. The result is silent suffering in neighborhoods that feel both forgotten and fragile. For residents in far zones, even regular primary care feels like a luxury. One local mother shared, "My child's speech therapy was canceled because the clinic closed. Now I drive an hour if I even can get in." Another described delaying critical dental work because the only provider accepting her insurance was in the city core, an hour and a half away. Residents talk about neglect not as a conspiracy, but as a lived reality. The same city that spends millions to dazzle tourists often neglects the services that keep its own population alive and functioning. When you cannot see a doctor near your home, when mental health help is blocked, when your clinic closes and your insurance skyrockets, that's not just inconvenience. That's erosion of the well-being of your community. Because when the system built to care for you starts to disappear and what's left to lean on, the pressures don't just hit your wallet, they hit your will to stay. 2, tax fees and hidden costs surge. Nevada loves to advertise its no state income tax status. But for locals, that perk is starting to feel like a distraction. Because while income tax is zero, everything else is creeping up and fast. Property taxes, utility surcharges, licensing fees, and even neighborhood assessments are rising, and they hit hardest where incomes are already stretched thin. Many neighborhoods now face special assessments. These aren't optional. They're imposed to fund flood control systems, road repair, or infrastructure upgrades. And while the improvements are real, so is the sticker shock. These assessments are tacked onto property tax bills or monthly housing payments, surprising many residents already living paycheck to paycheck. Utility bills are another sore spot. Local power and water providers tack on regulatory fees, fuel surcharges, and seasonal pricing adjustments. A normal summer power bill can double, and Water bills climb as drought restrictions increase. Add to that service taxes or disposal fees, and what felt manageable last year is suddenly overwhelming this year. For small business owners, the pain runs even to deeper. Compliance costs, permits, license renewals, inspection fees, and potential fines for minor infractions can stack quickly. Some restaurateurs report spending thousands a year just to stay in business legally. Landlords face similar fee piles, property registration, short-term rental rules, new zoning reviews, all of which come with costs. The result? A city where the tax-free narrative increasingly feels hollow. For low to middle income families, the effective cost of living after fees, fines, surcharges, and special taxes is anything but light. One local put it bluntly, they say there's no income tax, but I feel taxed at every turn. Take food trucks or local pop-ups. Their permit fees just went up 25%. Many told me that in some cases, the license and inspection costs exceed the net profit for a week's business. One small cafe owner estimated she spends $2,400 annually on red tape alone. Inspections, waste disposal, municipal fines, even though her profit margin is already thin. For locals who tried to build something on their own, these hidden burdens feel like walls rising around ambition. It's a quiet squeeze. You don't notice it all at once, but over time, it erodes household budgets, pushes small businesses to the brink, and adds yet another layer of stress for people trying to stay afloat in an already volatile city. And if it feels like the cost of everything keeps rising except your control, that's because it is. For many locals, the next move isn't just financial, it's emotional. And it's changing Las Vegas at its core. 1. Exodus and abandonment. The local drain. The signs are all around if you know where to look. For sale signs in middle-class neighborhoods, rental listings that once catered to families now tailored for tourists, and longtime neighbors packing up after decades in the valley. Las Vegas is experiencing a quiet but steady exodus, and it's locals who are leaving. Recent migration data confirms it. Net outflows from the Las Vegas metro have accelerated over the past 2 years. Families, retirees, and working-class residents are relocating to cities with more stable economies, better schools, and lower cost of living surprises. They're heading to Utah, Arizona, Idaho, and even back to California's inland cities. What they leave behind is more than a vacant home. It's the loss of roots. Neighborhoods are hollowing out. The soccer coach, the community organizer, the neighbor who always put up lights at Christmas, they're vanishing. Churches report dwindling attendance. Community centers once filled with after-school programs now host fewer events. Streets that saw block parties now see for sale signs or vacant lots. One neighborhood association said its funding fell 60% as households left. The community volunteer who once painted murals can't find hands to help anymore. When you lose both bodies and belief, the infrastructure of belonging dissolves and hope feels harder to sustain. Social capital fades, civic engagement dwindles. A city that once relied on locals to staff polls, run PTA meetings, and build block parties is now watching that local glue come undone. As residents leave, real estate investors are stepping in. Homes in local communities are snapped up and converted into short-term rentals. Blocks that once hosted barbecues now host rotating visitors. The sense of continuity and permanence disappears. For renters, this mercier means higher prices and less stability. Like for homeowners, it means watching your street turn into a revolving door. And then there's the emotional toll. One local who recently moved after 17 years said, it's not just about money, it's that the city doesn't feel like it's for us anymore. That sentiment echoes across forums and community groups. People don't just leave when they can't afford to stay, they leave when they no longer see a future. Las Vegas was built on big bets, big lights, and big dreams. But behind the glow, the scaffolding of community is dimming. When the people who built the city start to disappear, what remains is often just a facade. The exodus isn't just a population shift, it's a warning. If locals continue to leave and neighborhoods continue to empty, Las Vegas won't just lose residents, it will lose its soul. And yet, despite everything, the cost spikes, the long commutes, the cracks in the system, many locals still stay. Not because it's easy, but because it's home. There's a grit here, a pride in having seen the city through its wildest highs and lowest lows. For some, there's still belief that Vegas can evolve without erasing its roots, but belief alone isn't enough. If change keeps coming without locals in mind, if every fix favors visitors while residents scrape by, then the soul of Las Vegas won't just fade, it'll fracture. The city's future depends on whether it can recenter the people who actually live here, The ones who wake up early, work late, and build the place up when the lights go dim. What about you? Have you lived in Las Vegas? Are you seeing these changes in your own neighborhood? Drop your experience and how it's affected you or your family. Are you staying and pushing through or thinking about leaving? Let's hear from the people who actually live here. Your story matters.